Welcome back to the Paranormal State, Washington, and UFO UAP. With Makāula Nakae, a lifelong experiencer and ET contactee since 1990. Today's episode, 40s to 50s Alien After Party. The atomic age and a history of nothing to see here. If you examine the 1940s and 50s, a suspicious pattern emerges. Humanity finally figured out how to split the atom, and the universe immediately sent over a committee of uninvited guests. It's almost as if the galaxy has a neighborhood watchboard that only shows up once you start playing with matches in the basement of the universe. From the ashes of World War II to the peak of Cold War paranoia, we entered a bizarre atomic UFO era. We were busy building the ultimate doomsday devices, and the skies were apparently watching every step of the way. Likely with a mix of scientific fascination and the kind of existential dread you feel when your toddler gets their hands on a loaded handgun. The timeline of high strangeness, a closer look. Our journey into the unknown didn't start with a bang, but with a buzz. Before the public had the term UFO to throw around at dinner parties, we had the Foo Fighters. During the final years of World War II, Allied pilots flying over the industrial heartlands of Germany and the Pacific Theater began reporting strange glowing orbs that paced their aircraft. These weren't just simple reflections. They were intelligent, buzzing wing drones that mocked our aviation physics. The military consensus? It's probably secret German tech. The reality? They were pulling maneuvers that made the best pilots of the era look like they were riding rusty bicycles in a hurricane. Then came the 1943 Philadelphia experiment legend. Whether it was a genuine breach of spacetime or just a nervous breakdown born of excessive static electricity and too much cheap Navy coffee, the incident set the template for the next 50 years. The government is messing with physics, and the results are phantasmal. It was the moment the public began to suspect that the military-industrial complex wasn't just building better tanks. They were trying to rewrite the operating manual for reality itself. Pre-1942, the Foo Fighter era. Before we had UFOs, Allied pilots were reporting Foo Fighters' strange, glowing balls of light that paced aircraft over Germany and Japan. The official consensus? Probably secret German tech. The reality? They were pulling maneuvers that made the best pilots of the era look like they were riding rusty bicycles in a hurricane. 1942. Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the Manhattan Project needed a Site X. While they were busy building the bomb, they were also keeping a wary eye on the sky. You know you're onto something big when your secret lab for building the apocalypse is also a tourist destination for extraterrestrial gawkers. 1943, the Philadelphia experiment. The urban legend that the Navy turned the USS Eldridge invisible. Whether it happened or was just a fever dream born of excessive static electricity and too much coffee, it set the template. The government is messing with physics, and the results are phantasmal. Everything changed in 1945 with the Trinity test. When we detonated the first atomic bomb in the New Mexico desert, the UFO narrative took a sharp, jagged turn. Sightings shifted from weird balls of light to sophisticated, structured metallic disks. It's a compelling correlation. The moment we mastered nuclear fission, the neighbors decided to start monitoring our yard. Following this, Operation Paperclip brought 1,000 Nazi rocket scientists stateside. As the thinking went, why build your own rockets from scratch when you can just hire the guys who built Hitler's? This created a permanent self-sustaining smokescreen of top-secret Nazi tech that the government used to hide whatever else was zipping around at Mach 20. By 1947, we hit the summer of sauce. If you were a UFO in 1947, July was the busiest month on your calendar. Between the Maury Island incident, the original Men in Black encounter, Kenneth Arnold's Mount Rainier saucer sighting, and the Roswell crash, the skies were more crowded than a department store during a 90% off clearance sale. The sheer frequency of sightings forced the military to play a dangerous game of sign, grudge, blue book shuffle. They investigated Project Sign, realized the truth was interplanetary, and nearly had a collective heart attack. The estimate of the situation fired the truth tellers, Project Grudge, and finally settled for a multi-decade PR campaign to convince the public they were all hallucinating, Project Blue Book. 1945, the Trinity test. We detonated the first atomic bomb in the New Mexico desert. The UFO community likes to point out that shortly after we mastered nuclear fission, the sightings shifted from weird lights to structured, sophisticated metallic discs. It's a compelling correlation. The moment we started playing with the fundamental building blocks of reality, the neighbors decided to start monitoring the yard. 1945 Operation Paperclip. We imported 1,000 Nazi rocket scientists. As the saying goes, why build your own rockets from scratch when you can just hire the guys who built Hitler's? This created a permanent, self-sustaining smokescreen of top-secret Nazi tech that the government used to hide whatever else was flying around. 1947, the summer of sauce. If you were a UFO in 1947, July was the busiest month on your calendar. Between the Maury Island incident, the original Men in Black encounter, Kenneth Arnold's Mount Rainier sighting, the United Airlines Flight 105 incident, and the Roswell crash, the skies were more crowded than a department store during a 90% off sale. 1947 to 1952, the shuffle. The military tried to solve the mystery, Project Sign, realized the truth was interplanetary. The estimate of the situation panicked, fired everyone. Project Grudge, and then settled for a multi-decade PR campaign to call everyone crazy Project Blue Book. 1952, the Ellensburg Lights, Washington State, never one to be left out, gave us these lights, proving that the Pacific Northwest was the official lobby for the Intergalactic Embassy. 1953, Project High Dive and Project Rainbow. Secretive military projects that sound like 70s rock bands, but were actually part of the government's attempt to figure out how to operate in the high atmosphere. Or, if you're a conspiracy theorist, how to copy the alien tech. Whenever things got too weird, the White House would deploy the presidential shrug. In 1950, Harry S. Truman held a press conference and essentially told the press, "I assure you, there's nothing to them." This is the same man who famously said, "The buck stops who runless." Apparently, that buck is traveling at Mach 4 and glowing blue, in which case the buck is a weather balloon that doesn't exist. The charade hit its peak in 1952 during the massive Washington, D.C. flyover, where UFOs buzzed the White House and the Capitol. The military held a press conference that remains the gold standard for bureaucratic sweating. When a reporter asked if the government had intercepted the objects, the general in charge stammered that they had tried, but that the objects were hard to catch, which is a very polite military way of saying, we have the most powerful air force in the world, and we were effectively outrun by a frisbee. By the end of the 1950s, the government had learned a valuable lesson. If you tell the truth, the public panics. If you call the public crazy, the public gets annoyed, but they go back to their sitcoms and their pot roasts. The atomic age didn't just give us the bomb, it gave us the cover-up. We spent the 50s staring at the sky, wondering if we were about to be nuked by the Soviets or visited by our spacefaring neighbors. The government solution was simple. Don't look up, have a cigarette, and trust the experts. We're still looking up today, and we're still waiting for those experts to explain why the weather balloons are still performing maneuvers that defy the laws of physics. At this point, the weather must be remarkably aggressive, or perhaps the neighbors are still checking the fence, wondering when exactly we're going to stop trying to set the house on fire. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archived Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact and the Paranormal State. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute exploration into the evolution of ufology, perfect for your daily plunge into decoding hidden messages from outer space, designed to raise awareness and foster human evolution. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.